Missouri. Oh, we still have our disclaimer. Good morning. This is Lydia Nabu. I started talking during our disclaimer. My apologies. I'm from Stockton, Missouri, where I pastor the Independence Church. And as we're all a part of Acts Ministry. And once again, I have Marsha Holland here today. I asked her to come in and kind of pick up where we left off. In the past, we have gone through her testimony, which if you missed that, I will post another link to that because I think there's a lot of girls that probably need to hear it and um, know, how to adjust to certain situations and maybe protect themselves a little more. Well, Marcia's heart, through all of her testimony, has led to her becoming a licensed minister with Acts Ministry. And
Mhm.
she also has a 501c3 not for profit business called Clean Sweep Ministries. That
Yes.
went crazy there. Okay, it's Clean Sweep Ministries, and
Yes.
Spirit Horse Therapeutics is actually the full name. And so I asked her to come in and give us more information about Clean Sweep Ministries and what they do and how they do it. So,
Yes, I'm so happy to be here and to be able to share about our ministry and the things that God's doing through our ministry. And um, we kind of left off, just on you know, after I came out of my addiction and just received some healing. And
mhm,
we started our nonprofit in 2014. And in 2018, we opened our first house in Springfield. Um, when I first, when we first started, Scott and I, my husband, we looked at a property which was a 20,000 square foot furniture business off of
mhm,
266 that had closed down. And so I met with the landlords there, and we had several meetings with the county zoning and planning,
mhm.
just to kind of um, get a feeling if that was what we was going to be able to do and get the county involved. And at that time, all through my healing, I attended Sac River Cowboy Church for over 10 years. I started their Bible study and part of their security team, and we actually did the security team on horseback.
Oh, well, then you
And
were in heaven.
yes, it was just awesome. It was good. Church full of cowboys and cowgirls. And uh, when uh, we had went to the board of directors on through Cowboy Church, and they got together and provided the deposit for this building. So we went ahead and put a deposit down on it. And this was probably the just midsummer of 2018.
Mhm.
And like I said, we went through planning and zoning, but we lacked one gentleman on getting approval for us to move forward on this. So Scott and I and there was two men that own this property. We met in the afternoon with them,
Mhm.
and the gentleman that was on the zoning planning and zoning was very blunt with Scott and I, and he said, this is just how God moves, and this is how He protects. This is how we can't see things where He sees all things.
Right.
And that gentleman told Scott and I, he said, this is going to be a money pit for you. He said, this is going to cost you an arm and a leg to get it to where you need to have it.
Right.
And he said, what I would like to share with you, and this is so God, he said, you need to do what the other nonprofits and recovery homes are doing, is getting you a home
Mhm.
in Springfield and go that route.
Right.
And so he spoke into it, and we took some time. We got our deposit back, and we prayed over it. And at that time I was still part-time cleaning, and the couple that asked me to come and clean their house, um, it was a dorm on the SMS campus where it was some sorority girls lived in. So
Mhm.
I went and cleaned it. Well, I had to go to his office to pick up my check. Well, I went up the stairs, got to stop top of the stairs, and there was a sign that said for rent, for sale. And I'm like, well, what kind of business does he have? And I walked in, his wife was sitting there, and he took me back, and I said, what kind of do you own homes? Are you a realtor and all that? And he said, yes. And I just heard in my spirit the Lord speak to me, and he said, talk to him. And I was like, okay. And I
Don't you
said,
love those little conversations with
right,
God? Oh, I'm not ready.
right. And I was like, it was like an outpouring of the Spirit. I mean, the Holy Spirit just came on me, and I just shared
Mhm.
with him. He got up and he walked over and he got a book and he opened up the book and he said, pick a house. And I was like, really? And he said, yes, you pick a house that you want. And I picked the house over on the west side of West Sunshine,
Mhm.
over at the bypass. It was off of Dober Street. And we had the exact amount of money we needed in that deposit to cover our first month and our deposit on that house.
That's amazing.
We didn't know anything about the house or anything. And God provided the money way ahead of time, protected us, then positioned us in 2018. This is our anniversary. Yesterday was our 5-year anniversary of
Wow.
starting our nonprofit. So, and that's where we started. We lived there on Dover Street for almost 2 years. The home we're in now, we had to, we decided to take a move and get a second home, which we did, which is where we're at now. And come to find out, this house is just another area God protecting us. This house was in the county and it couldn't hold all of us ladies in the house.
Mhm.
So it was easier. He said he offered us another home inside the city limits, but we had already had this house, and I just felt in my spirit just to keep that, and we moved forward with that. And we've been up and running our homes for over 5 years now. And we through our program, we have many things that the women are required to do. We drug test. We require them to do biblical studies. We teach on self care, just taking care of our bodies, health, just different things that we neglect when we're in our addiction in
Mhm.
the darkness. And a lot of the ladies, struggle with mental illness. So one of the first things that we do is get that aligned out, because we do allow them to be on medications for, we have as many women that I believe in healing. They have
Mhm.
schizophrenia, bipolar, just different things we've seen, which is a big thing that I feel that needs to be talked about when it comes to mental illness, and that could be another whole show. I that I just see that a lot of women get misdiagnosed because of
I, you know, it seems like the doctors don't spend as much time paying attention to the mental health of women, is what I found. They find some guy that's angry and, beating up his wife or
yes,
threatening his kids or something like that. And they can send him into the doctor's office and talk to him, and they seem to come up with a diagnosis,
real quick, yeah,
real quick. Women, I think their heads operate differently. And,
correct,
I
yes,
know with my granddaughter, she's autistic. It took until she was 16 years old to diagnose her, but we've been taking her to the doctor since she was 3, saying, what's going on with this kid?
hmm
So the psychologists and everything had said that it is much more difficult to diagnose females as opposed to males.
and that takes us back to the garden. When God designed us, He
Mhm.
designed each of one of us unique. And when He designed man and a woman, He designed them unique in their
Mhm.
own
Yeah.
area. And I think our brain, of course, is different than how men are wired. And which we, over time, we've really started paying attention. We call that dual diagnosis, which is your mental illness and addiction. And sometimes the addiction needs to be looked at on some cases, not all cases, needs to be looked at more than the mental illness, because a lot of times I've even had girls that told me that they didn't struggle, but when they went in, they hear voices and stuff, and that's part of the addiction. That's part of the drug. It causes
Right.
hallucination, voices. They hear things, which can cause a crazy feeling, just like they're losing their mind and head, and that's due to the drug itself. Well, when they go in, when they coming down, they go in and talk to the doctor about this. They automatically diagnose them with schizophrenia or bipolar, and they clinically treat them and not look at the addiction part of it and the drug use. And we've seen several cases like that, because a majority of the time when they go back on the drugs, they because the drug itself creates the darkness, that they don't take their medicine. They get off track. So that is our goal with our program, is getting them connected with Burl, making sure they're getting their treatment in alignment, because when you get the mental clarity, they can cope with the drug addiction and other things that need to be addressed. So
Yeah.
that's kind of a big thing for us through it.
Treating the drug addictions and things like that, that's an entire class by itself.
Correct.
Because you don't know what drugs they've been using, or you don't know if it's just alcohol or whatever. And let's face it, a lot of people going into a treatment facility are going to tell you what you want to hear.
Yes, because they need a bed and
They
they
need
want
a
to get off
bed.
the streets. Yeah.
Mhm. So, have you had any problems with taking in? I know you take in a lot of girls after 24 hours clean and things like that. If the need arises, um, Clean Sweep does prefer a 28-day program before they come in. Is that correct?
Yes, we do prefer that. We feel that the 28-day treatment gives them a little more foundational, gives them that foundation. We are a program that is, we allow Suboxone, Vivitrol, things like that, short term, just to kind of give them that platform, to kind of help them. We have seen really, I'll be very honest, we've seen really good results with the Suboxone use.
Mhm.
In our program, we keep it all locked up, and we've seen girls actually make the decision to go off of it and quit taking it and do very good.
Mhm.
But we also believe that the faith base and the foundation with Christ, and teaching them about their identity in Him and their image in Him, has provided a better platform, so that they get to a place they don't want to be on their medicines. They want to be set free from that. They want to be delivered from the bondage of mental illness. We don't encourage them to stop their medications. We work with the doctors. They have to take their medicine correctly, and they make those decisions based with their clinical staff, their doctors, and then we work with them. If they want to go off of that, then we help them with that.
Mhm.
And we're in a process of that. We've got a couple girls that have came to me and said, Miss Marsha, I just don't want to be on my medicines anymore. And it's hard. You have to minister to them, because um, not knowing their history, you have to make sure that because there is people that's clinically diagnosed with mental illness,
Right.
and they need their medicine. Sometimes we get to a place that we think we don't, and we can do it. But if they are still living it within themselves and not the will of God, it's going to set them up for failure.
Yeah. And that's always the heartbreaking portion. So many go through a treatment facility and get into a group home or whatever the case may be. And then whenever they leave the home, they get lost and confused and don't remember anything they learned there and turn around and go back.
Yes.
I guess my stepson, we had him in 5 different treatment facilities and homes before he finally found the one with Hope Homes of the Ozarks. They're part of Teen Challenge these days. But that was the only program that immersed him in the Bible
Mm-hmm.
every day, and finally got through to his heart and his mind and got him off the drugs, and he's doing great these days.
Yes. Yeah.
But he'd been in a lot of treatment homes where people just weren't watching what was going on. He OD'd in one of them.
Right.
And it's
Yes.
like, okay, this is supposed to be a place where you all take care of the people and watch what they're doing. And instead, he ODs on an overdose of heroin
Mm.
when he got his first paycheck.
Right.
You have to have a certain kind of heart in order to be dealing with the drug addicts and the alcoholics and whatever's out there on the streets these days.
Yes, they're like all my children. And I have to
Are
go
we
through
talking
each
about
one.
the soap opera or the children raising your own kids?
But they just, you're probably not going to have anything in a setting like that where there isn't drama, but we are very adamant about keeping the drama and the strife and keeping them right focused. One of the things I always share with them is being a person raised around horses, and my grandfather had a pulling team. Well, one of the things with you take a team and you put the very first thing, you put the harness on, you're putting those blinders on, that keeps that horse going straight.
Right.
He can't see anything out here that would be a distraction to him.
Mhm.
So when we have an issue, that's one of the first things I asked. I said, "Do you have your blinders on?"
Mhm.
And there'll be a long pause. No. That means they're observing everything else around them, getting involved in things that they should not be involved in, and staying their own course.
Mhm.
And we really work on that because that's important, because the world can be a big distraction.
Oh, yeah.
And if we don't teach them to stay the course and stay focused, then everything else is going to come in. And one of the main focuses is keeping our eyes on Jesus.
Mhm.
And one of the things, I have to share this, and it always comes to memory, is Pastor Dennis Chode. He always, he would always, one thing I remember his quote saying, he never did the 12 steps. He did one step, and that was Jesus Christ. And that
That's right.
stays with me. And I use that. I
Mhm.
remember him sharing that with me, and he was always saying that. And I use that in our program. And I tell them, they have the option, we do, they do go to meetings, NAAA and CR. But I always tell them, I said, listen, the first step is Jesus Christ, the one step and the only step, and everything else will follow through. But we're just right now, our vision is to open up other homes. And right now, we just feel that the Lord has really put on our heart to help the smaller counties, the smaller towns
Mhm.
that doesn't have a whole lot. And that's where, through the will of God and Him He actually brought a young lady from Potosi, Missouri into our house. That's how I got connected. It's all alignment from God.
Mhm.
And so,
And you're getting ready to open a new home in
Yes.
Potosi area.
Yes, through the community partnership, they bought a house right next door to them, and it was a veteran, a 92-year-old veteran owned the home. He did veterans, worked at the community for veterans.
Mhm.
So we are very honored, and we actually, we get to a place that they're doing the wiring and doing some remodeling, we have 4 churches that have adopted our home, 4 churches from Potosi. One of those churches is Reviving Hope, which is going to be our main church there in Potosi. And they sent me pictures and videos that they've got the prisons involved. They're doing a work program through the prison to bring men in, and some of the men off the street to work on our house.
Well,
They sent me a video of the men up there working and putting a new roof on, and
I don't suppose they come to my house when they were
I
done.
know.
will they?
I was like, that was just, God said, that was just,
Yeah,
the Lord.
that's
And
amazing. Now, how many girls can you house at any one point at this point?
we currently have 7 women in our home. That's including our house manager. And our house in Potosi will be able to house 5. It's a smaller home. We like to keep, we have to, of course, under the city and stuff, but we keep it small so that we can minister. You get too many
Yeah.
people in, and you want to be able to help each one.
Crazy gnat flying on
I,
my nose.
I seen that while ago. He was running around.
So
But
you-
one of our classes, we attend Embassy of Hope here in Springfield. Pastor David and Elaine Sims, and one of the uh, teachings that our church is doing is a discipleship program. We start there's I think 13 phases, and you start at phase 1, which is teaching you about God and what it means to be a disciple or a Christian. And we are currently teaching that in our home right now. So once we start out with phase 1, and my house manager, which is my assistant that will be going to Potosi, she's taking the class right now, and they get a certificate, and we will follow through with teaching, making disciples, teaching the class in Potosi. So it's a really good foundation, scripture memorization. They have homework and things like that. And we very seldom do we not see any of our ladies not reading their Bibles. We are just really blessed. Our pastor and his wife are very involved in, they come to the house, and the Miss Elaine does. And so there's 2 other ladies from our church that come as well. And then we have Miss Tana from New Growth Ministries. So we have 2 churches involved in our house down here besides Acts Ministry. New Growth Ministry is another church here in Springfield. They help, a lot of homeless. And Miss Tana comes on Monday night and teaches a Bible study.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes. So because we was going to church on Wednesday, the discipleship class replaced that. So for Wednesday is kind of a free day. And then Thursdays, they get their meetings in, which would be an AA or Celebrate Recovery. And then Friday night or Saturday night, they have the choice that we're connected with Freeway Ministries and Freedom City, which is John Aldridge's program. So we got a group of girls that go to Friday Night Fire, and we got a few that go to Saturday Night Freeway. And then Sunday we have church. So Saturday during the day is our deep clean. The girls are required to do deep cleaning in the home. They're given chores every week to teach life skills and how to clean. So, but we just, the girls work. We're a self-funding program. We don't operate off of grants. We operate off just, donations and things like that. And we have a lot that donate to us. And New Growth Ministries, they donate a lot of food and toiletries, and our girls go and volunteer there as well. They do. If any of our girls are on disability, they're required to do some kind of community volunteering through an organization, through a church or outreach. They have to have papers signed that they're being active. They don't sit around home, so they're still very active too, even though they can't work. They have to volunteer somewhere.
Yeah, that's one thing that people forget. Even though you have a disability, I'm disabled, but I still pastor a church. I still come down here to Springfield and do my radio show and so forth. And these are all parts of my ministry and discipleship. And so, even if you're on disability, that doesn't mean that you can sit back and just watch the world fall apart around you.
Right. God's called us all to bring glory to Him, and it doesn't matter our age or what we have. And He uses everybody, and he wants us to serve. And sometimes it gets weary, and we have to take steps back, but it's okay. And He understands that because he took a day of rest himself, and he
Mhm.
expects that so that we
Yeah.
can rejuvenate.
So, as far as the church services are concerned, I guess you said you take them to Embassy of Hope. Um, are most of the women who come into your program uh, Christian? Do they identify as Christian, or do they come in and question what's going on and then ultimately end up finding God and maybe wanting to get baptized and join the family?
Right. So that's a big door there, because I have found over the 5 years of doing this that you have to be cautious because of desperate needs.
Mhm.
They're in desperation. So they will claim to be a Christian because they need a bed, they need a place, a shelter. Um, I always interview and share with them that what we, as a program, what we expect. And so we have a few that they come in, and this is where God works,
Mhm.
and we just let Him do His thing because they come in saying that they are, but they need that space. They're when we applied the structure, they kind of push against it. They rebel.
Mhm.
So it gives us an opportunity to minister and witness to them where they may not recognize it as being God and things like that. We have had there we've had a few that just couldn't handle it,
Mhm.
and they're very honest about it. Miss Marsha, I just can't handle living in a house. I'm used to being on the streets. I just don't think I can do this God thing,
Mhm.
and it breaks my heart
Yeah.
because if they only knew the hope and what He could do for them. But we look at that as a seed planted by
Mhm.
God, and that we know seeds grow,
Right.
and He is going to water those seeds, whether it's in our program or down the road. We've had girls come into our program, get dismissed, and go on to other programs, and they've later called me and said, Miss Marsha, thank you for planting what you did, because the other program, they excelled, they took off, they graduated,
Mhm.
and they remembered. And that's the main important thing. It ain't about my program, it's about what God does in their life. In the ultimate end is, deliverance from the addiction. And I work with other programs. I have a open relationship. Becca from One More and 24, we FaceTime, and she'll say, Miss Marsha, do you have a bed open? And I say no, and same with her.
Mhm.
But the ultimate goal in the plan is salvation
Right.
and discipleship and healing. And but the answer to that question, we have them speak it out, but in truth, they don't have true salvation.
Mhm.
But God opens a door for that, and they do truly repent and accept Him into their heart. And
Yeah, I've noticed that with some of the people I've dealt with over the years. It's like, well, I'm in jail. I have found the Lord. I want to come to your house when I get out. And they get out and they come to my house, and it's like, okay, well, now you're trying to bring drug addicts around here and everything else.
yeah,
Don't use God as a way of getting into some place,
yes,
unless God tells you to.
right,
God will tell me to go into some crazy place that everybody says you're insane for walking in that door. You're going to get killed and everything else. And I'm going, no, God told me go in here, so I'm fine.
yeah,
And I come back out and I'm still fine. But it's hard for people to understand that unless they do have a relationship with the Lord, and listen to that and expand that relationship. And let's see, your husband helps you out with this particular ministry, does he not?
yes, He does. He is such a blessing. If I could say anything about my husband, the main thing that he's my covering,
Hmm.
which is we pray together every day, and um, when he's home, if there's any, like if we have to move furniture, he's, always there to help. We transport sometimes on Sunday, now that the church has a van, they come and get the ladies to kind of give me a break because I do all the transportation as well. But we're believing in faith that down the road that he'll be able to get off the road and we can do this full time together. We eventually want to open the men's side of it and get a men's home and things going there. And we still get a lot of phone calls. I provide resources for that, for men needing to get in. But yes, he's my rock. He encourages me. When I'm weary, of course, that's what marriage is. When one's weary, the other encourages. And he, if I have a question and if I'm, because I'll be very honest, I get into my flesh, and I'll call him, and where he's not been directly involved, he can say, okay, this is what you need to do. It gives me a different mind frame, and I can pull myself back in and not make hasty judgments or hasty calls. And he gives me that foundation to help. So,
Yeah, that's what my husband does. He gives me that stop, just sit back, think about it for a while,
yes.
because my mind would go 100 miles an hour. I'd want to go help everybody in the world. I want to go.
Yes. Yeah.
I want to help all the ministries, and that's one of the things that I wanted to bring you in for. It's like we have to help each other, and we have to help people get strong. Our world has become extremely weak with regard to faith.
Yeah. Well, and I had a little bit of a situation, it's hard. People sometimes don't understand. They kind of go on with their daily life, but the people that work in this type of environment, and as leaders or ministers, and we share the gospel. Some people are just churchgoers and volunteer within their church, but they don't see and deal with so much of the hardcore stuff. And the last 2 days, there was a lady at our church. She called me, and she had shared with me of a young girl that was pregnant and asked me if I had any openings. And at that time, I didn't, which we're full and doing really good. Our girls are doing wonderful. And so that's instant for me is, recovery, placement, trying to get her in somewhere. So I'm giving her a bunch of resources, of Catholic charities where she can, go in, she can stay there while she's pregnant. We take in pregnant moms, and we've had newborns at our house. I've been in labor and delivery, been in the middle of with one of our girls that, had a baby. And, but she messaged me, and she told me, she told me that it's better for her to go back out to the streets and use and be on the streets. And it's tough, not only for her, but for her baby. She's pregnant, and she chose, I did ask her to have her call me. She never chose to call me. But she did choose to go back out to the street, and she's pregnant. And a lot of people would get angry and say, no, she's not thinking, she's selfish. But if you know the core of addiction and how the enemy works, if you look at it as spiritual aspect and the lies that he's telling her, and it's okay to be angry, but not a lash out angry, because that young girl is hurting, and I can't help. And there's situations like that really affect me because I can't, and it's not my place, but I can't do anything about it. And there's 2 lives that need to be saved. And because this is about saving lives spiritually and physically.
Correct.
And but if I could say anything to our listeners, to just to pray for this young lady and her baby.
Mhm.
And she's chosen, the choices she made, that the next angel will come along and take her in,
Mhm.
and but that's just one of many things that we see and deal with on a daily basis. And
I often wonder about those girls on the street, especially one's pregnant. I've got a great niece who's down here in the Springfield area and chooses to live in abandoned houses and live on
trap
the
houses,
street
yeah.
instead of coming back to any of the family members' homes that she would be available to come to.
Yeah.
You know,
And that's the hard part, and having that strong foundation and trusting God and having that unshakable faith and knowing that he is involved and he's protecting. And we just, as family members or just a brother or sister in Christ, and people do, living like that, and we just have to have, you know a movement of the Holy Spirit, just to surround the darkness. And just,
and we have so much darkness in the world today.
yes, we do.
I would like to check the television set out the front door, but then nobody would let me. Let's just check the television set. Let's not turn on the news anymore. Let's just get out there, focus on what we need to do. But we don't get that option in life. It doesn't seem like.
Right.
There's
Yes.
too much evil in the world. There's too much that's good that's called bad, and too much that's bad that's called good right now.
Yes. Yeah.
And so one of the things with, Clean Sweep Ministries or any of the other ministries that you come in contact with, if they're leading people to God, support them.
Yes. Yes.
Bring them through this and help them to bring more people into the kingdom of the Lord, because right now it seems like there is so much hatred and discontent and violence. How can two 14-year-old kids beat a man to death because somebody's told them to? You know,
Mhm.
we've got to reach our children. We've got to
Yes.
reach our neighbors and everyone to make them understand that our time is short on this earth.
Yes, it is.
It's very, very short, and whenever you can't trust what the news people tell you, whenever everything is bought and paid for by people that probably do not have God in their lives, all the billionaires and multi-billionaires and so forth in the world, we have to be careful in all of those aspects. We've got to
Yes.
pay attention.
Yes. Yeah.
And so programs like Marsha's help bring that into focus for these girls and bring them back to complete healing and helps them become more productive in our society.
Yes.
And I know a lot of the girls have children. Now,
Correct.
most of them do not have custody of their children.
Correct. Yes. Usually it's in state custody or a family member.
Mhm.
Several ladies right now, family members have their children, and some of them, their children are grown and they've got grandchildren. So, but family restoration we're just seeing that left and right within our program. And it's just a wonderful feeling to have those girls say, Miss Marsha, can I have a day pass to go so I can go spend the day with my daughter?
Mhm.
And we got moms that are now, visiting with their kids, and siblings are taking care of siblings, and we got moms back involved in that. And some decisions are hard decisions because some of them are not getting their children back.
Mhm.
And so we have to teach them how to go forward with that.
Yeah. So anyway, we've had Marsha on today to talk about Clean Sweep Ministries and Spirit Horse Therapeutics. Our time is over at
Yes.
this time, but I wanted you to hear more about that, and I hope you can keep her ministry in mind. And if you know anybody who needs their services, you can find Clean Sweep Ministries on the internet.
Yes,
You
at
can find
www.cleansweepministries.com, or my phone number is 417-830-8686.
anybody who would like to be a guest on the show and share your testimony with others, you can email me at pastorlb@axmediagroup.com. Anyway, have a wonderful week, and